So this caused quite a bit of stir in the more right-wing spheres here, where they're pretty divided on this, and part of me is kind of disappointed that it's not that everyone's not taking the side I want, but I'm also kind of proud that hey, the side that I consider myself part of, the more right-wing side, I am glad that this is an issue that is seriously being discussed and debated, and it's not just one monolith of opinion. I do find that part pretty great, but I'm going to say why half the side's wrong here. Donald Trump posted this, which kind of started up this whole debate. All in for Senator Steve Daines as he proposes an amendment for a strong ban on burning our American flag. A no-brainer. And then we saw a bunch of other conservatives post certain things that the one that I saw become really popular was Candace Owens' tweet. If I were president, the punishment for burning the U.S. flag would be the renunciation of citizenship, no jail time, no fine, simply 1 year to liquidate your assets and get the hell out of our country. In exchange, we'd extend citizenship to a hardworking legal immigrant. Now, I disagree with both of these people on this. I think the correct position, the more principled position, should be legalize or allow flag burning to be legal. And I thought actually one of the best answers was put by Christina Haas Summers right here that says, but here's what you are forgetting. One reason it's so wrong to burn the American flag is that it stands for a country where you are free to burn the American flag. So I've been following all of these I've been seeing all the different possible arguments in favor of a ban on flag burning, and I think I have it all figured out. I'm going to address them one by one. If I didn't address your argument, that I guess I never heard of it, leave it in the comments section, and maybe I'll do a follow-up, maybe I'll just respond to the comments, whatever works, depending on the argument. But first, where do I agree with the people that want to ban it? Not on much, but all I can say is it insulting for someone that is protected by the freedoms of the United States to go and burn the flag? Someone that is protected by the fact that it's legal to burn a flag, to just go and then burn a flag. Is that insulting? Is that a great insult to the U.S. and the people of the U.S.? Sure, I will grant you that much, and it depends what they're burning it for, of course. But in that sense, sure, it can be very, very insulting. But that's it. Like that, I don't care if it's insulting. Like that, because it's insulting, that doesn't mean we should ban it. Because, again, free speech. But, again, if you have a response to that, I will go through all the arguments one by one. One being, is it treason? Because, of course, the idea that a country should just allow treasonous acts to happen against them is ridiculous. No country allows treason against their own country. That's the paradox of tolerance there. The idea that you should be tolerant of the intolerant. You can't do that. You have to be intolerant of the intolerant to have a tolerant society. But that all comes down to the question of, is this treason? Well, this is, according to Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses on the same act or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life and the person attained. Now, I am no constitutional scholar. I am not a lawyer. I am not an expert on this stuff. But it seems to me that's what it's saying is that if you're not declaring war against the country, which burning the flag is not a declaration of war, unless they, if they specifically say, I declare war, as long as they're not saying that, burning the flag is not a declaration of war, or in adhering to their enemies. And by that, they don't just mean maybe we should take a nuanced approach to this. They're not saying, oh, maybe the enemies aren't that bad. That's not what they're talking about. They're saying giving aid to the enemies, giving comfort to actually financially supporting our enemies, that kind of thing. That can be considered treason, but not burning the flag. So it is by definition not treason. Now, the next argument I heard, that actions aren't free speech, that this doesn't apply to the First Amendment, because where does it say in the First Amendment that it protects expression? No, it only protects speech. Well, it protects other things, but it doesn't protect expression, is what they claim, at least. And that is incorrect. Expression is part of freedom of speech, as that has been considered. Because again, there is such thing as symbolism. If I draw symbols on a poster or something, of course, property that I own, if I draw symbols and I draw these things, that is considered speech. I am conveying a message. It's not just words out of my mouth that is considered speech. It's about what kind of message am I conveying. And of course, are people burning their flags in the comfort of their own homes where no one can see? No. The whole purpose of burning a flag is to send a message that, hey, I am upset, that I am against. Again, that's where it gets a bit more complicated, because there is no... I've seen people that are very pro-freedom, very pro-constitution, pro-Western civilization, pro the values of the United States, burn a flag because they're upset at the U.S. government. They're burning the flag because they're saying, the flag represents the government. I am in opposition to the government and its lack of adherence to the principles of the Constitution and that kind of thing. So in that sense, like if someone's burning a flag for that reason, I'm not too entirely against that. But then there are other people that say, no, I oppose the values of the U.S. I oppose Western civilization. I oppose like capitalism and that kind of thing, and that's why I'm burning the flag. I oppose the nation, and that's why I'm burning the flag. That is where it gets a bit complicated, because there is no one set definition of what you're trying to convey when you burn the flag. And if you disagree with that, I mean, just ask the people. Just ask the people, why are you burning the flag? You will get loads of different answers. And we can't just rely on a dictionary definition of what the flag represents, because that's kind of the same thing as the feminists saying, well, the dictionary definition of feminism is equality, therefore it's about equality. No, it's about what people view it as. Like, if you survey the masses, what do people view this thing as? And when they view the flag, the more libertarians will view it as the government. They don't view it as the values or principles of the nation. They view it as the U.S. government. So by burning the flag, they're protesting the government, and that should certainly be legal. And then if you survey a bunch of other people, like especially more on the left that burn the flag, they say, I am opposed to, some people say police brutality, which, hey, I'm against police brutality. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Other people will say, I am opposed to the nation itself. I am opposed to capitalism and that kind of thing. Those people, I would say, are morons. But the idea that it's not freedom of speech, that it's not considered under the First Amendment, is ridiculous. This is a form of expression. Again, it's like if I draw a symbol and I parade the symbol around, am I, like, we've seen this all the time. Like, there is loads of traditions throughout this country, and I think at least Mardi Gras, I believe Mardi Gras has part of this tradition. The idea of, like, burning an effigy or something like that. The idea of setting something on fire as a symbol of something, as to convey a message, to uphold something. That's not that uncommon. So the idea that burning a flag isn't free speech, well, it is. It is protected under free speech. And if we're going to go, I've been arguing from the more principled stance, but if we're going to argue from a more legal stance, I mean, I can just refer to the court case Texas v. Johnson, which was where they upheld that in 1989. And you could say, oh, it was a bad court case. Well, it depends on what your view of the law is, in the sense. And personally, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I just listen to what other people tell me. I've read a few books on the law, but again, emphasis on a few, not that many. But all I can say is we can look at Scalia, one of the most conservative, like pretty much the face of like conservative constitutional lawyers. Scalia said, yeah, like one of the most conservative lawyers out there, like the face of conservatism in law, said, hey, we should uphold flag burning. It is protected under the First Amendment. That was what he said. He says, I don't like it. Those people are awful and they're dumb. And he even said, if I were in charge, I wouldn't allow it. But if we're going to take the constitutional approach, is it protected under the Constitution? Yes. So in that sense, I have to base it off of that. But then emphasis on my lack of knowledge when it comes to law. I'm no lawyer. But next thing I've seen people say, property rights. The idea that burning a flag is akin to vandalism, and we don't legalize vandalism. Or I even saw someone make the argument that, well, if we allow flag burning, are we going to allow people setting a church on fire? And it's property rights. Like, I don't understand why people don't understand property rights. The idea that if you own something, if something is your property, you can do what you want with it. If you own a flag, you can burn that flag. You can't burn someone else's flag. You can burn your own flag. That's the thing. You can't burn or destroy other people's property, but you can burn and destroy your own property. You can say it's stupid or dumb or whatever, but you have that right to do that. You can burn something if you own it. That is where that stands. That's all I can really have to say about that. You can do what you want with your property. There is no there is an obvious like difference there between saying, oh, if we allow flag burning, then do we allow destruction of property or vandal? No, you can do whatever you want. The flag is not the property of the U.S. government. If you buy a flag, it is yours. Now, the next thing I've seen, that is a direct threat against the nation. That and we have to take direct threats seriously, right? Like, where do you draw the line on free speech? Well, you draw it at direct threats. If someone is directly calling for violence, that's where we say that's illegal. No, you can't do something that actually has an effect on violence, that positively causes violence. If you tell someone to kill someone, it's not a violation of free speech to then like throw you in jail or arrest you, because you are directly calling for violence and you are responsible for the outcome of that violence. And I actually wrote an article on this a while back. The way I view it, I don't view it as specifically that we're banning or that we're arresting you for the speech that you said. We're banning you for the results, the inevitable results. So if you call for violence, it's not the words coming out of your mouth, it's not the opinions you hold that we're arresting you for. It's the fact that you will, even if that speech doesn't actually result in violence, it is putting people in danger of possibly exposing people to harm, of people taking it that way. So, for example, like, again, the fire in a crowded theater thing. I've seen people bring that up a lot. Fire in a crowded theater. You can't say that, therefore we limit free speech. But that misses the point entirely. It's not that you can, like, if you want to buy a theater, if you want to buy a theater and then sit in the theater all by yourself and shout fire, you are allowed to do that, right? Like, you can do that. You should be allowed to do that. That's free speech. However, the thing where it becomes a problem is if you shout fire in a crowded theater, and it's not your own theater, for one, there are two problems. One, you've disrupted the theater, right? And the theater has every right to kick you out and say, get out of here, we don't ever want you anywhere on these premises ever again, because you've disrupted that theater. The theater is not your own property. And the second thing, which is the greater harm, is that people are going to be rushing to get out, right? They're going to be running to get out. They're going to be panicking. There's going to be lots of panicking. That people might get trampled. People might get hurt. People might get knocked over and injured and punched. I don't know. Like, when people are in a panic, they rush to get out. And in that frenzy, you can really cause harm. There was record of people being trampled to death even. And brutally injured because people are just trying to get out and they get knocked over, and people aren't thinking when they run someone else over, when they walk over people. They're just trying to get out. That is what you are paying for. That is the consequence, that you caused that, and that's what you were being arrested for. The harm that you have caused people. And even if that doesn't actually cause harm, it's the same thing with drunk driving, right? That you don't have to kill anyone for drunk driving to be illegal, right? It's the idea that you are putting other people in danger by driving drunk. That you are putting people at risk of harm in a sense that is like, it's an insane amount of risk. Then no, we can't allow it. Are you putting people at risk when you drive on the road? Sure. But the idea is that when you drive drunk, the risk shoots up to a sense that you're putting other people in actual danger that we can't ignore. So that's where that is. It's not necessarily the speech itself, but the consequences of the speech. And burning a flag is not a direct threat against the country. It is not a call for violence. For some people, it could be, sure. But for everyone, no. It's something that you would actually have to clarify, that when you say you're burning the flag, it's all it's really saying at the very least is, I disagree. And that's fine. The idea that we should ban it for being offensive is no. Like, we don't ban things based on offense. That's what the far left has been doing. Oh, I'm offended, therefore I have a case. No, you don't have a case if you're offended. You're offended that someone's burning the flag. I don't care. Like, that's the thing about principles. You have to uphold them. And this is the thing with free speech on the right in general. There are loads of accusations on the left that, oh, the right doesn't actually care about free speech. They only care about free speech because it benefits them in the moment. And the idea that, it only benefits them in the moment, and as soon as it's something they disagree with, they're going to oppose it. Well, do they have a point? I don't know. Do they have a point? Because as we've seen here, there's been a pretty big divide in that. I am for speech that I disagree with. That's fine. But the problem is, if you're someone that says flag burning should be illegal because it's insulting and I find it offensive, but you're also saying, like, I defend the right for, I support the right for neo-Nazis and far-right people that I disagree with to go out and give a speech. Are you really? Like, that's the question. Do you actually agree with that? Is that, like, where do you draw the line? And the sense is you have to uphold speech you disagree with. That's when the left sees these people saying, I'm like, oh, well, I support free speech, but as soon as it's something like a flag burning, no, it's insulting and I disagree with it. No, you have to be principled. You have to be consistent on this approach. Again, you don't have to like it. You don't have to endorse it. You don't have to support it. All you have to say is it should be legal. That's the thing. That's how free speech works. And the last thing, I guess, I didn't write this on my notes, but it just popped into my head. Now, this is something that has bothered me with conservatives a lot, and again, not just, maybe I just see it on the right more because I'm on the right. Maybe I've seen it happen on the left, but it seems to happen more on the right, that a lot of the arguments against legalizing flag burning is saying, oh, well, the left is against this, but now they're for flag burning. How hypocritical. We're not talking about the left, though. That's the issue. You have to make sure your arguments aren't just calling out hypocrisy. Because the thing is, if that works against the left, fine. If your argument works against the left, that's fine. But what do you say to all the people on the right that are for legalizing flag burning? Like, you can't call out the hypocrisy thing, right? I don't like the arguments that say, well, you're an obvious hypocrite here, because I see people get too used to that. They just say, well, the opponent is a hypocrite here, therefore, that's their argument. They're being a hypocrite. Yeah, but what about the actual issues, right? It's more than that. It's like if someone on the right is for flag burning, as I am, and I'm not in the sense of that I would celebrate flag burning, but I want it to be legal. And that's the important difference there. I'm not saying it should be legal because I agree with it. I'm saying it should be legal because that's the principled position. That's what free speech is all about. It's in the sense that, where do you come at me here? Like, I'm not a hypocrite on this issue. How do you debunk what I say? But I think I've addressed all the arguments. Let me know in the comments section if there's another argument you have. But that seems to be I don't see a reasonable case for banning flag burning. It's not treason. It's not it's within the bounds of free speech. The most conservative judge out there that I know of said, yeah, it's within the bounds of the Constitution. It's protected by the First Amendment. Symbolism is a form of speech. But let me know what you think in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.